everyone. So for my topic, I'm gonna be the more broad thing is pollution, but I'm focusing in on the Houston Ship Channel. And Texas has become the nation's biggest emitter of toxic pollutants and toxic substances. Even. Houston's home to the largest petrochemical manufacturing complex in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. So the Houston Ship Channel is a 50-mile. Oh, let me show you this picture real quick, just for reference. This is a glimpse of the Houston Ship Channel. It is 50 miles long, so this is just a part of it. So, the Houston Ship Channel is a 50-mile port in Houston and is credited with fostering the growth and prosperity of the entire state of Texas. So, nationwide, I think it's brought in about 430 billion. Statewide, it's less, but it's still in the billions. So, it's a lot. The environmental issue is the pollution that's being dumped along the Houston Ship Channel and the communities that it's affecting. And most of the companies that are along the Houston Ship Channel would be your major oil and gas companies. A lot of the ones that we're familiar with, especially in Dallas, was Shell, Valero, Chevron, Exxon, and what is known as a sacrifice zone. So, a sacrifice zone is defined by the UN as places where people suffer devastating physical and mental consequences because they live in a hotspot or close proximity to the port. And this doesn't wouldn't have to be just like someone living across the street from us. This is just people even within like 3 miles or um, longer distances than that, just for reference. And existing what has happened to cause this is no regulation. It is physical. I'm sorry, let's get it right there. Okay, have suffered devastating and physical and mental consequences as a result of living in this area. Okay. What has happened to cause this? I'm gonna come back to that. Let's go skip it. And this is just image for reference showing comparing the different states and amount of pollutants that come from these states. And as you can see, Texas is one of the ones that has over 150 million pounds of pollutants. It's pretty bad. Okay. Race and justice of the toxic waste disposal. I cannot talk. I cannot talk today. Okay, so Houston is a very diverse city. Um, White, Asian, Hispanic, what's black. The two communities, ethnic groups that are primarily being impacted from the pollution from the Houston Ship Channel is Black and Hispanic. Those are predominantly the only races that are being impacted by this. And with this being an area that's perceived to be a low income area, high poverty area, possibly even like limited English in these areas, I think that's one of the reasons why it's being overlooked and not a whole lot is being done about it. Because if it was in a higher income area or or a predominantly white area, more would be done about it. You get more people probably advocate for change. You probably see it a lot more in the media, um, but because of the area, it's just kind of being overlooked a little bit. Like no serious action has been taken. Yeah. Okay. So there are two major regulators for pollutants that deal with um, toxic waste disposal. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is one of the biggest ones that I'm going to mention because there are loopholes in the current regulations. So in the current one, say a company, there are certain instances where a company is allowed or it's not considered illegal when they go over the threshold of pollutants in the air. For example, it could be bad weather, um, mechanical failure, one of the machines stopped working. And bad weather could be either it's cold or it's really hot. The way we all know how hot it could be in the summer, especially in Houston. And this, they every 2.5 days, they're breaking and going over the threshold in Houston. A test they did a study, and the test results came out when they exposed that a lot of cancer causing chemicals were found at the bottom of the Houston Ship Channel. And this last direct quote here is what a spokesperson or representative of the Houston Ship Channel had to say. They pretty much denied the fact that there were any cancer causing chemicals and that they're actually harming a lot of people's health. And I think that speaks for itself because if they're not showing any remorse or they're not taking responsibility for it, that's is a call to action. Because the people that are in these areas, Black and Hispanic, their life expectancies can I got word this wrong. Okay, yeah. No, their life expectancies can be up to 20 years shorter than those in the better areas, more income areas. A lot of these people that are in this area, they may not have the funds to move to a different area, move away from the Houston ship channel. If they don't have the funds to move, or probably can't afford to stay in the house most days, most of them are probably working individuals. And when it comes to lawsuits against these companies, a lot of them probably don't have the funds for representation, or some of these lawsuits can probably take months or even years. A lot of them can't afford to for that extensive of a process. Now there are fines. Now a lot of these companies have been fined, but there isn't anything to enforce them after the fine. Like nothing to get them to stop. They receive a fine, they pay it, and the same thing continues. Another incident continues. No one's enforcing anything. So, a couple of the big things that would be, you know what? I think I skipped something. The upset events with the loopholes. Okay, a few of the things needed to possibly start the road to change would be the inadequate regulations. The regulations that are in place have been in place for years, and a lot of this stuff has been going on for decades. People in the area have been affected by this for decades. A lot of them have heart problems, respiratory problems, cancer, of course. And there isn't any pollution monitoring equipment. With this being a problem, with this being such a huge income source, they bring in over or contribute to over like 430 billion, and they provide over 2 or 3 million jobs to people. There should be some sort of funding that they can use that can help the people who do stay around the area, such as the pollution monitoring equipment. Because a lot of these people, if they come out their house, they don't know like 2 blocks away from here. This company just passed their threshold and they released over 50,000 pounds of pollutants. I mean, I'm sure they're experiencing the effects of it health wise either way, but they don't know that. They don't know on any given day like which company that's going up the threshold. Because while they did mention that it's legal for residents to sue these companies, the residents really shouldn't have to be, they shouldn't have to sue these companies. There should be more of a driving force making sure that they're not putting out cancer causing chemicals affecting over 100,000 people. So, um, and that's just within 3 miles of the facility. It's not just a few people being affected by this, it's thousands of people being affected by this, and yet nothing's being done about it. A lot of the residents don't have the funds for it. The government should be able to make it a requirement that they install pollution monitoring equipment, even location. Um, these companies need to figure out a better way to dispose of the pollutants instead of just dumping in this area where it's primarily affecting Black and Hispanic groups. It should be, it's not a requirement for them to. So if it's not required by them and they're going to keep doing it, more people are going to be affected by this. And this is something that's been happening for generations. If the current regulations haven't improved it, that's a good sign that you know something needs to change. Same issues are still happening, yet no one's really that's really being done about it. Yeah. The affirmative defense, that was a loophole that I mentioned because the companies have to report whenever they hit the threshold and they go like 25 times over, 40 times over the amount of pollution because they don't go by a specific chemical, they just go, they generalize it. So they generalize it. So um, it's not just one, it's just they go over 20 times the amount that they're supposed to or that they're allowed to. Um, they have to report that. And when they say, especially they can use this in legal defense, they'll say, oh, well, it was really hot that day, so we went over like 25 times that amount, or it was really cold that day, or one of our machines wasn't working. They can always use that as an excuse in court to defend why they release a certain amount of pollutants and just make it okay, but it's legal for them to do that. And they can use it as a valid defense. So, in a nutshell, there aren't enough regulations, lack of enforcement. There's no one really enforcing it enough besides a fine that they're just paying and going on and doing the same thing. And public input involving sensitive effects and benefits so many people, but a lot of times the negative aspect is getting overlooked because of the prosperity side of it. Yeah, it's bringing in, it's credited with bringing a lot of prosperity to the state of Texas and nationwide. People know that it provides a lot of jobs, but it's neglect. But people are neglecting the fact that it's a lot of people that are dying because of this, or health is declining. It's kind of like a lot of, kind of like turning a blind eye to it. Not really. It's not getting the exposure that it needs. It's not getting the change that it needs. It's like it's like I said, a standstill. I don't really care that it's killing a lot of people. It's affecting a lot of people. If it would have been in a different area, it would be a different story. But public input parts, involving the public in more of the permitting process, as far as like how much pollutants a company can emit on how much pollutants a company can emit. Involving the public to like those meetings or involving the providing. Well, I cannot talk. Instead of it being closed off, just inviting the public to those meetings. Yeah, just getting more of a say so from the public how they feel about it. When you attach like faces to the things that are happening, it seems like more real. You see, it makes people are seen, people are heard. You're not seeing the faces of a lot of the things. What's the word? Not seeing the faces of seeing the faces of this disaster. It's just not. But whenever they see like a lot of people that's being affected, hearing their inputs about it, it could stir up some change, some new regulations to help the people that are living in the area, so quality of life isn't so bad. In the state, in with this being the United States, with this being in the United States, and we have as resource rich as we are, we have every resource to make sure people can go to work, go to church, go to school. They can go outside and have a party in safety. It shouldn't be something that's happening. The company should be able to find a better way to resolve this. Find a better way for find a better spot for the pollutants instead of dumping it in this area. A good way to really force change is just making it a requirement. So, okay, and this is just my works cited page. Thanks everyone for listening and watching me. Thank you.